All right, there's a lot to cover. Brian, on Monday, like the real meat, the real business of Trump's trial is going to start. Is the media, is the nation ready for this?
I think this courtroom is already like a prison for Donald Trump. He may never actually see the inside of a prison cell, but this courtroom is his prison. He is stuck. He gets reprimanded when he tries to stand up. And what an incredible contrast to Joe Biden, who's out, buying hoagies at Wawa, going to Sheetz and Wawa in the same week. He was showing his freedom, I feel like, this week. And he was flaunting almost his freedom by going off and campaigning like a normal guy, a normal candidate in the most abnormal year.
Let's talk about this, the trial, though, and talk about the jury, right? The jury selection happened much quicker than people thought, right? On Monday, they were like, wow, this thing is going to take 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Bam, they're ready. But there is real concern about the safety and the security of these jurors. So I've got a question about the media. Do you think we should be reporting in such detail that this juror is a male and he works for an insurance company? All of this information, how does that serve the American public? Because the judge certainly doesn't like it. And if these jurors start to get more and more uncomfortable, there could be a real problem here.
Well, American journalism doesn't have that kind of discipline. There's no way that you're going to get everybody to agree not to describe the jurors. What we have to do is provide security for the jurors. Listen, there were thousands of New York City police officers all over downtown, and the least we can do is protect those jurors. So I wouldn't restrict journalism. I would say we have to provide security for those jurors.
But, Alex, we know we will report. We know what's right and wrong, and we think about what serves the American people, what serves our audiences, our readers. What do you think?
Well, I think, look, you want to allow context. I think it is important that we understand who these people are to the degree that it protects their anonymity, but you understand the area, the place from which they're coming, maybe how well educated they are, what kind of jobs they are holding down. It helps give a perspective of how they might weigh in on this. Granted, we have to wait, of course, for the whole trial to play out and see what happens with a verdict and when they're doing jury deliberations. But I find it interesting at the beginning. I would like to now stop it. I think we don't need to know any more about who these people are, because my respect for them, I'm going to give a little bit away of what we're going to talk about later in the show when we do our People of the Week. I mean, these jurors, guys, think about what they're sacrificing for this, what they're risking for this, and their lives will probably never be the same, and we have to respect that.
I think it's such a sad state of affairs that jurors have to worry about their safety when they're doing their civil duty. It is so...
On a trial for a former president of the United States of America.
Right.
I mean, the whole thing.
But I think people are trying to apply pre-Trump norms and rules to a post-Trump or current Trump era. Meaning, newsrooms are trying to have thoughtful conversations about how to handle these questions.
Yeah.
But the norm is, it's in open court, it's happening in public, share what's happening in the courtroom. We live in a different era now, though, an era where security concerns are very real. I'll give you a personal example. I wanted to go to the Trump rally last weekend. I applied for a press credential.
You wanted to go?
I wanted to go because I think it's important. I went to a Biden event. I've been to a Trump event. And my credential request was denied, unfortunately.
Why?
But I don't know. Trump campaign wouldn't tell me. But when I thought about going, a couple of friends of mine said, you need to wear a disguise. The last time I went to a Trump rally, CNN, where I worked at the time, sent me with a bodyguard. That is the environment we are in today. That's the environment these jurors are in today. And I feel like sometimes newsrooms are forgetting that we're not in a pre-Trump culture with pre-Trump rules. We're in a very different environment now.
And don't you think the fact that the judge said it cannot be delayed, what you were saying about everyone thought it was going to take so long to pick these jurors.
Yeah.
And today they tried. Yeah.
Donna, let's talk about the split screen that Brian referenced sort of at the top of the hour. You've got Donald Trump sitting in a courtroom. I mean, trapped in a courtroom. A guy who never abides by anybody else's rules, he's never worked for anybody else sitting there. And Joe Biden is out there on the campaign trail. Do you think these two visuals, these side-by-sides, are going to impact independents, undecided voters?
Well, I think it's cumulative. So it's this plus everything else that's going on. But one thing I want to say about Donald Trump in the courtroom, remember, he's not a morning person. So he's got to get up earlier than he's ever gotten up before, and he doesn't sleep very well.
He needs extra Diet Coke.
That's it.
Right.
He doesn't have his Diet Coke.
A dozen a day. Come on.
So it's more than he has to sit there all day. It's just that his body chemistry, this is why he's going to nod off, he's going to fall asleep. Yeah. So it's more than just a contrast of him sitting there really uncomfortable. And Joe Biden out on the campaign trail, but it's got to be cumulative.
Yeah.
You've got to think about all these things added together.
He's already acting like a torture victim, saying it's too cold in the courtroom, and this is only week 1. Imagine week 5 or 6.
Yeah. See, I don't think this is going to hurt him so much, because if you think of what he does and says outside the courtroom, right? It's the same Donald Trump tropisms. It's the things, it's just he's being maligned, this, that, and the other, the same verbiage. It's the same thing he says when he goes out on the campaign trail.
It's not necessarily about hurting him, because the people who love him are going to stay loving him.
Yeah.
What is he going to discover that's going to help him?
Yes.
Because remember, he lost the last presidential election, and while his base is loud, it is not currently big enough for him to become the next president.
Can I say, I can't even believe you're having to ask the question, what will Donald Trump discover that helps him by being a criminal defendant in the court of law? My brain just blew for a second. I mean, honestly, but no, it's a legit question. But the fact that we're even asking it, and I don't have the answer to that. What will he discover?
But he's a victim. He loves being the victim.
Victimhood is his rocket
What's
fuel.
happening to me? It's, yes.
And it's the same thing.
It reinforces the victim view.
Right.
Yeah. There's no question that it reinforces this. But I've got to say, everybody's going to be watching this. And so we're going to pick off people that we didn't pick up before.
I don't know. I disagree. Because there's no cameras in the courtroom, I actually think only news junkies are going to watch. Only political junkies are paying attention. I worry that it's not going to seep through to everybody else. But I guess we're going to see. For now, though, right now, Trump's voice is the dominant one. Trump is the one that's speaking the loudest. He's the one shouting every day about
Okay, but then this is my media question, right? I was talking about the split screen, but as I said it, I thought, but is there a split screen? All eyes are on Trump.
What's on the other side
All
of the
eyes
screen.
are on Trump, right? If this trial wasn't going on, we don't cover his rallies anymore. We're not sitting outside Mar-a-Lago. Every news truck in the greater New York area is sitting outside that courthouse. And I wonder, how is that going to impact campaign coverage?
I mean, maybe President Biden should read the transcript of the court proceedings every night in front of viewers.
But
I don't know. Somebody's going to have to.
He's been using it a bit. He has been using it a bit. I hope he takes this opportunity that he has, Biden, to do something good and to express, look at me, I'm out on the campaign trail, because I'm not in a courtroom because I have committed crimes.
But you're also talking about the national press.
Right.
Remember, all politics is local. And he's going around the country getting local coverage, reaching out and talking to people.
Right.
I think the only thing, back to your original question on what will hurt him with independence, will be a guilty verdict. And I think
but here's the thing. Lots of people are sort of assuming there will be a guilty verdict, right? It's been months and months and months. Like, when is there going to be a trial? And they're going, great, the trial's happening. That doesn't mean he's going to be found guilty. And if he's not, then what?
Oh, boy. I don't even want to think
Then we have
about
a respect for democracy and for the democratic process.
Wow. Do you think we're ready for that? Do you think
that was such a responsible answer?
Yes.
I would never hear that from the far-right media.
Listen, I'm a college president. I got to be responsible here.
Okay, but this man, just think about this. This trial is happening in Manhattan. Donald Trump, the boy from Queens, spent his entire life trying to be the king of New York City, of Manhattan, right? When you think about, like, New York City in the 80s, it's like Donald Trump coming out of a limo. How extraordinary is it? Like, these two are never, ever getting back together.
At 150,000%. And
who could this be?
Is that Donald?
Sorry. No, luckily it's not a family member of mine. I love when they call and I'm like, seriously? Yeah.
That's a devoted mom, right?
Yes.
Just in case it's family. Believe me, I've done that too.
He has always, it's like he has wanted to be the cool guy from Manhattan. And he's not. He is the criminal in Manhattan. And I hate to say it, but I love watching it.
Technically being judged by his peers.
Right.
Yeah.
Technically. Listen, I know 10 people that fit all those descriptions of those jurors.
Yeah.
I know 10 people in Manhattan.
But how can you be unbiased? I just don't know how you could be a New York resident and be unbiased.
Well,
I think I could pull it off.
The news.
Really?
I do.
That's a challenging thing.
Yeah.
If you really, really consume
If
the
you
news
are someone- yeah.
and you're looking for truth and fact and you oppose
Right.
lies and blather.
The most
really
interesting
think you
part,
could be
yes, the
unbiased?
most interesting part of this case will be Trump's defense. We all know the prosecution. We all know the arguments against Trump. But how will he defend himself?
Okay.
That's what I want to see as a juror.
I want to talk about something else as it relates to Donald Trump, because we keep hearing like he's in the worst position ever. He's losing on top of losing. But I want to talk about DJT.
DJT.
Right? This is Donald
Yes,
Trump's
yes,
media
yes.
company that has now gone public. We now track it every single day. And
Yeah.
listen, after the stock fell this week, it went back up. He stands to make billions of dollars.
Yeah.
On this stock that's been gifted to him if he keeps traffic flowing, he keeps the stock moving, he keeps it trading. This is extraordinary. Brian, I don't even know why you bought the stock, but you did buy the stock.
I did buy some shares. I put in like $30,000. I sold as soon as I made $100 profit because I was too petrified to own the shares.
Why
To
did
me,
you
it was
do
too
it?
scary. It was an easy flip, right? Like a couple weeks ago, you could make an easy buck by buying this stock. But now it's the opposite. Now, if you buy into this stock, you're going to suffer. And that's why I sold within a day. It was too sketchy. This company is too sketchy. Almost no one uses Truth Social. And I do think the stories of people, the Washington Post wrote about this earlier in the week, the stories of MAGA men putting their life savings into this company
Sad.
are downright
That is
sad.
sad.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.